I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer it honestly, not the answer you would give in polite company, but the real one. The one that lives in the back of your mind on the days when the market is down and your phone is full of red numbers and every headline you see seems specifically designed to make you feel like something terrible and permanent is happening. What do? Do you stay? Do you sell? Do you freeze entirely, unable to do anything at all, just watching the numbers move, waiting for some signal that tells you when it is safe to breathe again? If you are like most people, and I mean genuinely most, not a careless majority but the overwhelming majority of individual investors, you do one of those last two things. You sell or you freeze. And in doing so, you miss the single most important opportunity that financial markets ever offer ordinary people. Because here is the truth that took me a long time to say out loud clearly enough to mean something. Market panics are not warnings. They are invitations. They are the moments when the greatest companies in the world go on sale, not because they became less valuable, but because enough people became afraid at the same time to temporarily disconnect the price from the value. And the investors who understand that distinction, who can hold that idea steady in their minds while everything around them feels like it is collapsing, those are the investors who build real, lasting, generational wealth. Today, I want to talk about 5 specific stocks that belong on your radar the next time panic arrives. Not as a list to follow blindly, but as a framework for understanding what kind of business is worth buying when the world feels like it is ending. Because the next panic is coming, I cannot tell you when. Nobody can, but I can tell you with absolute certainty that it will come, and when it does, the people who prepared for it will look like geniuses. They will not be geniuses. They will just be the people who listened when it was quiet enough to hear. Before I give you the names, I need to give you the principle. Because without the principle, the names are useless. They are just words on a screen that you might act on once and abandon the moment things get uncomfortable again. The principle is this. During a market panic, you are not looking for the stocks that will recover the fastest. You are looking for the businesses that will be larger, stronger, and more profitable in 10 years than they are today, regardless of what the next 6 months look like. That is the entire filter. Everything else is noise. A panic does not change a great business. It changes its price. And if you can stay clear on that distinction, if you can see a 30% decline in a company's stock as a 30% discount on something that was already worth owning, then you are already thinking differently than the majority of people who will sell that same stock on the same day you are buying it. Now let us talk about what that looks like in practice. The first stock is Apple. I know what some of you are thinking. Apple, of course. That is the safe answer, the obvious one. And you are right that it is obvious, but obvious is not the same as wrong. And understanding why Apple belongs on this list will teach you something important about what to look for in any stock during a panic. Apple is not a technology company the way most people think about technology companies. It is a consumer behavior company. It is a loyalty ecosystem. The average iPhone user replaces their phone every 3 to 4 years. They do not switch to Android. They upgrade within the Apple system. They subscribe to Apple services. Their photos are in iCloud, their payments move through Apple Pay, their entertainment flows through Apple TV, their workouts are tracked on Apple Watch. The switching cost is not just financial, it is psychological. It is the cost of rebuilding an entire digital life in a new environment. Most people will never pay that cost. That is a moat, not a metaphorical one. A real, measurable, deeply durable competitive advantage that does not erode in a recession. When the market panics, Apple falls. It always does. Because in a panic, everything falls. But Apple's customers do not panic. They do not cancel their iCloud subscriptions because the S&P dropped 25%. They do not stop buying the next iPhone because interest rates went up. The business keeps generating cash at a rate that is almost difficult to comprehend, while the stock price temporarily tells a different story. That gap between a temporarily lower price and a fundamentally unchanged business is the opportunity. Think about someone who bought Apple during the panic of March 2020 when the stock dropped nearly 35% in a matter of weeks. By the end of that same year, they had more than doubled their investment. Not because they were clever, not because they predicted the recovery, because they understood what they owned well enough to hold it when holding felt wrong. The second stock is JP Morgan Chase. Now I want to be direct with you here because banks make people nervous, especially during panics, and especially after 2008. The word bank and the word crisis share a traumatic relationship in the American financial memory. And so when the market falls and the financial sector gets hit hardest, as it often does, the instinct is to stay as far away from bank stocks as possible. That instinct, understandable as it is, costs people money every single cycle. JP Morgan Chase is not every bank. It is, by most serious measures, the best managed large financial institution in the world. It has navigated every major financial crisis of the last 2 decades not just intact, but often stronger than before because panic in the banking sector tends to send deposits and business toward the institutions people trust most. When smaller banks struggle, JP Morgan benefits. When credit markets tighten, JP Morgan's fortress balance sheet becomes a competitive weapon. The reason this matters during a panic specifically is that financial stocks tend to sell off more aggressively than the broader market. The fear around banks amplifies their decline, which means the discount you are being offered is often deeper than the underlying business reality justifies. I want you to hold this image in your mind. During the 2020 crash, JP Morgan stock fell more than 40%. The business did not fall 40%. The business continued serving millions of customers, collecting fees, processing transactions, managing assets. The stock fell 40% because fear is not precise. It does not surgically remove value from businesses in proportion to their actual exposure. It sweeps broadly and indiscriminately. And in that indiscriminate sweep, it created one of the most attractive entry points in the bank's recent history. Within 18 months, the stock had not only recovered but set new all-time highs. The people who sold in the panic sold a magnificent business at a deeply discounted price to people who were calm enough to see what they were actually buying. The third stock is Amazon. Amazon is interesting to talk about during a panic because it is one of the few businesses where a difficult economic environment can actually accelerate its long-term dominance even while the stock falls in the short term. Here is what I mean. When consumers are under financial pressure, they become more price-sensitive. They comparison shop. They look for convenience. They consolidate their spending toward platforms that offer the most value. Amazon wins that dynamic almost by definition. Its ability to offer competitive prices, fast delivery, and the accumulated trust of 2 decades of consumer relationships makes it the natural beneficiary of exactly the kind of cautious, value-focused spending behavior that economic fear produces. Meanwhile, on the business side, companies facing budget pressure look harder at their infrastructure costs. They look for ways to scale technology without scaling headcount. Amazon Web Services, the cloud computing division that most ordinary investors underestimate because it is invisible to them as consumers, is one of the most profitable businesses on the planet. And in a downturn, the case for cloud infrastructure gets stronger, not weaker, because it allows businesses to pay for exactly what they use rather than maintaining expensive physical infrastructure that sits idle. So you have a company whose consumer business is recession resilient and whose enterprise business is recession accelerated. And in a panic, the stock falls anyway. Because in a panic, the stock of everything falls. The person who understands what Amazon actually is, not just what it looks like from the outside, can watch a 30 or 40% decline in the stock price and see it clearly for what it is. Not a verdict on the business, a discount on the business. The fourth stock is Johnson & Johnson. I want to talk about this one because it represents a different kind of logic than the first 3. Apple, JP Morgan, Amazon, these are growth stories. They are businesses with expanding markets, accumulating advantages, and long runways ahead of them. Johnson & Johnson is something else. It is a fortress, and fortresses serve a different purpose in a panic. Johnson & Johnson has paid and increased its dividend every single year for over 60 consecutive years. Think about what that span of time contains. Multiple recessions, multiple market crashes, the dot-com collapse, the financial crisis, a global pandemic, wars, political upheaval, inflation, deflation, every kind of economic weather that the modern world produces. And through all of it, the dividend went up. That kind of consistency is not an accident. It is the result of a business model so deeply diversified across pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and consumer health products that no single economic event can meaningfully damage the whole enterprise at once. When one division faces headwinds, another provides stability. The business breathes through disruption in a way that most companies cannot. During a panic, this matters enormously. Not because Johnson & Johnson will dramatically outperform. It probably will not. But because owning a business that continues to pay you and increase that payment regardless of what the market does changes something important about your psychology. It gives you something to hold onto that is not just an abstraction about long-term value. It is a real, tangible return arriving in your account while everything around it is uncertain. And that psychological stability, the ability to stay invested through a panic because you are being paid to wait, is worth more than most people realize. Because the investor who stays through a panic does not just avoid locking in losses. They capture the full recovery when it comes. And the recovery always comes. The fifth stock is Berkshire Hathaway. I want to be careful about how I explain this one because it is easy to make it sound like I am simply telling you to do what Warren Buffett does. That is not the argument. The argument is about what Berkshire Hathaway actually is and why its structure makes it uniquely suited to panic specifically. Berkshire is not a stock in the traditional sense. It is a collection of extraordinary businesses, insurance operations, railroads, energy utilities, consumer brands, combined with a massive publicly traded equity portfolio, and one of the largest cash reserves of any company on earth. That cash reserve is not laziness. It is ammunition. It is there specifically for moments of market stress, moments when other businesses are desperate and valuations are distorted and opportunities appear that are not available in any other environment. When the market panics, Berkshire does not just weather the storm. It is often positioned to profit from it. It can acquire struggling businesses at favorable prices. It can deploy capital into equities that have been unfairly punished. It can act when everyone else is paralyzed. And because its insurance operations generate a continuous stream of what is called float, money that it holds and invests before claims are paid, it is structurally designed to benefit from the very volatility that destroys less well-constructed portfolios. Owning Berkshire during a panic is owning a vehicle that is not just surviving the conditions but actively hunting within them. That is a different kind of resilience than simply being a strong business. It is a business whose competitive advantage literally increases when conditions deteriorate. Now I want to bring everything together because a list of 5 stocks is only as useful as the understanding behind it. The single most important thing I want you to take from this conversation is not the names. It is the mindset that makes the names actionable. Because if you go into the next panic with a list in your pocket, but without the clarity of mind to act on it, the list is worthless. You will watch the prices fall and the fear will feel exactly as real as it always does. Your body will respond the same way. Your instincts will tell you to wait, to hold off, to protect what you have left. And the only thing that will allow you to do the opposite, to see declining prices as opportunity rather than warning, is having done the work before the panic arrives. Knowing what you own. Knowing why you own it. Knowing what the downside genuinely looks like, and having made peace with it in advance so that when the emotion shows up, there is something solid underneath it to stand on. The investors who bought Apple and Amazon and JP Morgan in March of 2020 were not emotionless. They were not immune to fear. They felt everything everyone else felt. The difference was that they had already answered the important questions before the fear arrived. They knew what they owned. They knew why they owned it. They knew that the price on the Screen and the value of the business were two different things, and that knowledge was enough to let them act when acting was uncomfortable. That is what I want for you. Not just a list to reference, but a framework to use. Not just 5 names, but a way of seeing markets that transforms the next panic from a threat into an invitation, because the panic is coming. I cannot tell you when, but I can tell you what it will feel like. It will feel like the worst possible moment to be buying anything. Headlines will be frightening. People around you will be selling. The voices telling you to wait will seem like the reasonable ones. And that is exactly when the work you do today will matter most. Not the list. The understanding behind the list. The market does not reward the most intelligent investors. It rewards the most prepared ones. It rewards the people who decided in advance what they believe, built their positions deliberately, and then held them through the moments that tested every version of that belief. You can be that person, not someday, starting now while it is quiet enough to think clearly, while the fear has not arrived yet and your rational mind still has room to work. Use the quiet, build the understanding, prepare the plan. Because when the panic comes, and it will come, the only question that will matter is whether you built something solid enough to stand on when the ground starts shaking.